Good, people? Welcome back to another edition of Gen Sports Corner. Um, Talking about boxing today. Let's go straight to it. The last video that I made, I was talking about the aftermath of the fight between Jerron Boots Ennis, Philadelphia's own, born and raised, and Xander Zayas, who was WBA and WBO champion at 154, junior middleweight. And I thought Boots was going to win the fight. I thought that he was clearly the more experienced and I would say physically talented fighter. I thought that Xander Zayas is a young, up and coming fighter, champion, two belts at one weight class, but I just thought he was a little bit green. So for me, and I think that I'll be better at doing this, I'll start covering the fights more often, even if I don't see it as a high stakes or competitive fight. It was a high stakes fight, sure, but competitive, I just did not see Xander having enough. I thought it would be a good scrap. I thought that it would be competitive for as long as it lasted, but he lacks the explosion and he lacks a little bit of seasoning as a boxer to be able to deal with some of the looks that Boots was going to give him. That's just the way I saw it. So let me know what you guys thought about that fight. But let's go ahead and look at this fight coming up today between Abdullah Mason and his new opponent. Now, mind you, this was not the original opponent. New opponent is Albert Bell. Albert Bell, another undefeated fighter, 28 and 0 to Abdullah Mason's 20 and 0, and they're former sparring partners. They work with each other. Um, Albert Bell is on good terms with Abdullah Mason and his family, from what I could ascertain from the the press conference and some of the interviews. So this is a unique fight. The previous opponent, just his name is eluding me. I thought it would be a good fight, but it's a step up fight for Abdullah Mason. But this one, not so much so. And I want to get into it. So you have Abdullah Mason, obviously the youngest champion right now in boxing, to my knowledge, at 22 years old, going against Albert Bell, 33 years old. You got a southpaw Mason going against an orthodox fighter in Bell, whereas his previous opponent, who is supposed to be fighting, I believe, was southpaw. So that's one adjustment that Abdullah Mason has to make, in addition to having a taller opponent, right? So you have this guy in Albert Bell who's 6 foot. He has like a three, was it a 3 inch height advantage on Abdullah Mason. And then Abdullah Mason, he has very long arms for his division and just for his height, really. He has something that we call a high ape index. An ape index is a measurement of your wingspan compared to your height. So typically, the average male human being has an ape index of anywhere from, let's say, 0 to maybe +2 or maybe +3. And some of the greatest boxers in history, they have a high ape index, right? You take guys like Sugar Ray Leonard, for example, with 5'9", 5'10", but his wingspan's like 72, 73 inches, right? So, you take 5'10", 5'11", 5'12". It's like a +4 ape index, +4, maybe +5 ape index. Guys like Tommy Hearns, guys like Floyd Mayweather, very long reach for his height. He's like 5'8" and a half, but his wingspan is like 72 or 73 inches. Very long wingspan. You look at Abdullah Mason, he's 5'9" with a 74-inch wingspan. That's kind of similar to mine, actually. So you're talking about 3 inches to 6 foot, and then you got a +7 ape index. No, excuse me. A so 69 inches. So you have a +5 ape index. It's a very good ape index, and it gives insight into why he's able to pick people apart from range, because it's not just having a wingspan, it's the fact that he's explosive along with it. And that is such a big advantage to have. And it's different from Albert Bell because Albert Bell is not explosive. However, he does have a long wingspan. Not necessarily a long big ape index, but he has a long reach at 73 inches. So he's not going to have the reach advantage against Albert Bell like he's had against some of these guys like um Orneas back in 2025, or Manuel Jaimes in 2025, or some of these other fighters, guys that have like 67-inch reach, 69-inch reach. No, like you're gonna have to deal with a guy who's going to be able to stay at range because he has the reach to do so, and he has the height, and he knows how to and likes to use that height. And then thirdly, he fights as a counterpuncher. He's looking to for placement more than power. I don't know if he would be different even if he had more power, which he doesn't, but he has enough pop to keep you off of him, and he will stick that jab out there like nobody's business to keep you at bay and really control rounds and try to win on points. So this is going to be a very interesting fight because this guy is, what did I say, 30 and 0, something like that. Excuse me, 28 and 0 with 9 knockouts. But he controls the pace and he controls the distance. So you look at Abdullah Mason fighting in his hometown, Cleveland, Ohio, and this is his first defense of his belt. Now, people say that winning your first belt is a huge lifetime a moment in your lifetime, which is true. But I think even more so is defending your belt for the first time. Like you're top dog now, heavy as the head that wears the crown. People are gunning for you, and instead of getting a softer touch like he would have with his original opponent, his replacement really is a step up. And this is a huge moment for him in his hometown. You're defending your belt in your hometown, and you're doing both things for the first time. And Abdullah Mason was very, very excited in his interview about being able to finally fight in Cleveland because he's going on putting on fights, and everybody's like, "When are you going to come back to Cleveland?" From what he's saying. So to be able to be at home and put on for your city, I would think that means a lot for him and his family and his brothers or whatnot, and everybody's going to be in the house watching. But let's look closer into this fight. And the thing I like about Abdullah Mason, he's twitchy, explosive, very, very good jab. He knows how to close distance, manage distance very, very well. And he'll even get nasty on the inside. Like if you want to go on the inside and try to rough him up, he will meet you there. Like he says, he wants all the smoke. He will meet you there with a smile. Even in the fight where he got knocked down twice, and for good reason. We'll get into some of the things that I'm concerned about. He got back up like a dog and put that dude back down, right? So he's about that life, he's about that action. So he'll bring it to you from the outside. He'll go on the inside, start throwing hooks, uppercuts, put an elbow out, create some space, and then throw a short check hook. I forgot what fight he did. He did that in that I was just looking at the highlights in, but he's a an all around really really good fighter, and he's only going to get better. And then Albert Bell, on the flip side, you have a guy who is tall, rangy with his reach, right? Even though the ape index isn't very high, his height and his reach are very, very abnormal for the weight division. Right? You're fighting at lightweight, I believe 135. That is a tall person for that division. Hell, Tommy Hearns was 6 foot or 6'1", and that was tall for the welterweight division at 147. So imagine what being a 6 foot fighter is going to be like for some of these guys, including Abdullah Mason at 135. And then they have to reach, right? Typically, Abdullah Mason has the reach advantage because you're not going to find many people, again, even at welterweight, that have a 74-inch reach, let alone at lightweight. Now you're facing one of the few other guys, if there's any guys beyond him, that have the same reach as you. So now it's going to come down to the technical skills. Now, you look at Abdullah Mason, some of the things that I I noticed when I looked more closely, and some other commentators, especially Tim Bradley, pointed this out, and I saw the same thing. Crossing your feet at times, and this is something that I mentioned about one of my other favorite fighters, Lomachenko, right? Highly skilled fighters, and he's a more polished fighter, but even him, at an advanced stage in his career, at times he would cross his feet. And that was why he got put down in the fight against Jorge Linares, even though he ultimately came back and stopped him in the 10th round with a body shot, I believe. It was crossing his feet that got him sat on his behind when it didn't really need to happen. And Abdullah Mason sometimes crosses his feet, and then sometimes when he's throwing a hook, he'll keep his opposite hand as blocking. He'll keep it a little bit low. I don't like that. It's home, right? Bop, throws that hook, it's home. But like sometimes you gotta bring that up a little bit higher. And he got dropped in the fight. He got dropped 2 times. It was a hook that dropped him on the first one. He was busy throwing a hook from hell and he didn't see what was coming back, or he wasn't paying enough attention to it. And that's just inexperience. That's just youth. That's not anything that can't be corrected or cleaned up, but you're going to have to clean those mistakes up as your competition gets better and better, especially against a guy like Bell, because although he doesn't have a lot of power, he's going to stick the jab out there. He's going to throw short, crisp punches, even though he has long arms, and he's going to look to play shots that Abdullah Mason doesn't see, like in that other fight I mentioned. I just can't remember the opponent. I just don't feel like going back to look at it. But the fights I was looking at was with Carlos Orneas and um I saw the Nakatiya one as well, and the other one might have been Manuel Jaime's, but the Orneas one, I think that might have been the one because he dropped Orneas in rounds two, four, and then the last time in round six, so it might have been that fight. But again, this was a short, stocky fighter that was able to land a punch that Abdullah Mason didn't see coming, even though Abdullah Mason has the footwork when he uses it to be able to get out of range. And on the flip side, Albert Bell, he has really, really good placement. He'll control around. But what I don't like about him and why I believe that although he will provide really good competition, that this may be something that comes back to hurt him. It's that he keeps his hands a little bit low, just in general. Like he'll move him to bring his guard up, but like in general, he keeps his hands low. And he keeps his chin up high from time to time. I don't like that, especially when he's backing up. Sometimes when he's throwing the jab and backing up, he'll back up with his chin up. You're asking to get clipped, and he gets away with it because he's 6 foot. One, most guys aren't 5'9" or above, and two, most guys don't have the type of reach that Abdullah Mason has. So like you get away with making those type of mistakes. Whereas with Abdullah Mason, you might not. He might be able to reach over and catch you as you're going back with your chin up, and then now you hurt. Right now your legs is going from up under you. So and then so that's what I those are the things I don't like from each guy. But what I think really makes this fight interesting is they're sparring partners, similar to Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. Well, not they weren't sparring partners, but they fought each other in the amateurs multiple times, what, two or three times. So they both know each other very well. So that's why Ryan Garcia could go into that fight, maybe among other reasons. I'm not talking about any PEDs or whatnot. I'm just talking purely skill based. Why, although he may be confident in himself as a fighter, he was even more confident because he's like, I done seen this dude. I feel like I've hurt this dude before. I know what he's about and what he brings. That's why I feel like I'm going to knock you out. And you have to wonder what the sparring sessions were like between these two in the gym behind closed doors. You know, everything stays in house. We don't know what happened, but they do. So once you get to get sparring rounds in, it's almost like you, depending on how much work you've gotten, it's almost like having a fight, right? It's almost like you fought already before you have an official fight. So that's really going to play a big role into this, and that makes that makes this fight a little more intriguing. But all in all, I think that Abdullah Mason is going to win this fight, but I think he'll win it. But I think it's more inclined to go to a decision, and he can very easily lose this fight if he doesn't clean up those habits. And this is a comment that I had about Earl Spence, not even going into the Crawford fight. I had this comment about Earl Spence off camera with my friend, and then I think I made this comment on camera. Maybe it was the Sean Porter fight, maybe it was the Ugas fight or the Kell Brook fight, but I could see the defensive lapses that were there that needed to get cleaned up before you go against a better fighter. Even if it wasn't Terrence Crawford, if he would have fought Manny Pacquiao, you're gonna have big problems, right? You ultimately may still be able to win that fight because he's like a walking Terminator. And at that point, um, it didn't seem like he was having any physical issues. Like going into that fight when he was training for it, it didn't seem like, oh, he looks tired, or oh, he seems as though He has a hurt rib. Rumors floating. There were no rumors or anything like that. And going into that fight against Danny Garcia and Mikey Garcia and those guys, like the defensive lapses were there, but he had the ability to really just walk through people. But against a Manny Pacquiao, you don't clean up those defensive lapses. Guess what? That southpaw jab. I mean, excuse me, that southpaw cross. Even though that southpaw cross could be a problem, dog. It just is, man. It just is. He changes angles. He throws punches and bunches from angles that you're not expecting. So same thing going into this fight. It's like Abdullah Mason, he's going to have to clean up some of the defensive lapses because he throws every shot with steam on it. He's not really probing with the jab to look for openings. He's not throwing to land a jab with 40% power and then turning it up to 60% and then coming with power after. Like there's no variation in the speed or power of his punches. And that's again, that's an experience thing. That's something that you learn with time, but maybe the experience sparring Albert Bell will let him know maybe I can't do this against this caliber of opponent. And mind you, sparring is not the same thing as a fight. Somebody can look like Muhammad Ali in sparring and then get the break speed off them by the very same opponent when they get into a real fight in the ring. You know what I'm saying? So, but it does give you insight into tendencies, idiosyncrasies, what makes a person uncomfortable. How do they deal with pressure? How do they deal with speed, pace change, all these different things, right? Even before you throw the crowd and the lights into it. So right now, I think that Abdullah Mason is going to win this fight, but I see it being a decision. I think this guy's a tough dude, and if Abdullah Mason is too lax, this fight can turn very quickly on him. This could quickly become Albert Bell's moment. And I'm trying to do my best not to equivocate on this or sit on the fence because I want to give a definitive answer. I think Abdullah Mason is the more talented, explosive fighter, but if he if he does not clean up some of the defensive lapses or he gets too cute, let's say, if he gets too cute, he's gonna FAFO. That's what I feel. I think he will win the fight, but if he gets cute, gets lazy, he will FAFO. I'll just put it like that. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below, and we'll see how this fight turns out. Last but not least, another fight on the undercard that I'm interested in seeing is Bruce Carrington fighting Rene Palacios. I have I have Shushu winning this. He should win this fight, but just don't sleep on Palacios. He's tough. He's scrappy. He gonna come out to try to. And if I was Palacios, I would just be setting up for a big punch to try to get a good shot on Shushu and try to end the fight as early as I can. Don't be reckless, but you try and look for that big punch because if you let Shushu get rolling downhill, it's gonna be just set your watch and count the time down to the fight ends. It's gonna end in 12 rounds or shorter. You don't let so, you just can't let him get on a roll. But I think that Shushu should win this fight. Palacios, 19-0, one draw, 25 years old. Like I said, tough fighter, but I think that Shushu should win this fight. So we'll see what happens. Let me know what y'all think, who you have winning both fights, and I'll catch you on the next one. Oh yeah, go Sixers. Somehow got Jaylen Brown. Makes no sense to me, but we'll take it. Peace.